and there was a charge, and the stuff went to them, not to me, and they sat on it for 5 years. And then I got hit, and I had a lot of long, angry conversation. They rectified it, but they were like, "Well, yeah, you never paid this," and I go, "Yeah, the shit goes to you." And it was $5. It was an expense that posted late.
Shouldn't have spent that $5, man.
Fuck, dude! Like, tore apart my credit. I had to get all these people like involved. So dumb.
Get wrecked.
So dumb.
All right. Here is. Oops, that's not where I want to do this. Hold on.
I hear the mic rummaging of a Wild Colin in the building.
Hey, I've made noises. I was hearing your shit get wrecked, and I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Hold on, I'm posting to the Twitters.
How are you in these volatile times, by the way, in the industry, Colin? You all right?
Yeah, doing okay. Like, between couple of assholes making things more difficult than they needs to be, but otherwise pretty good.
Ah, good.
Okay, I have posted to the Twitters.
Okay, I will. Oh man, it's my buddy's birthday today. It's the only thing that I find Facebook to be good at.
Yes.
Oh shit! It's someone's birthday.
I log into Facebook every morning simply to see whose birthday it is, and that is about it.
Oh, you are a much better person than I am at this point, because I won't write. I'll just be like, oh, it's
no. That doesn't make me a better person. That makes me appear to be a better person.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
If only the Sharks could appear to be a better team.
Oh.
Save it for the fucking podcast.
I got some things to say.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
Really, Alex? The guy who monologues the first 10 minutes of every podcast has some things to say?
Hey, that's my fucking job on the podcast. Thank you very much. It's called an intro.
I know. What did I say?
Yeah. This could have been the intro had I been ready. Hold on, I posted it.
Fine. We're out of practice. Podcast? What's a podcast?
I know. I feel a couple of people actually hit me up on the side, because we do have a couple of listeners, and they were like, "How come you guys never podcast anymore?" And I'm like, it's hard to make the schedules work, and there's like not a lot of stuff to talk about. Like, you can like slow news day shit, but then it just gets old after a while. Like,
also, weren't you guys like going through a major house
demolition and rebuild?
Oh, we can pretend like that last month. We're still podcasting like once a month, if even around that. So
yeah,
just not a great season. But okay, let's start it. Speaking of not a great season, podcast number 211.
211.
Boy, we've slowed down. We're only at 211.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to Circling the Cup, San Jose Sharks podcast, episode number 211. And if you're wondering why that's such a low number compared to how many podcasts we've been doing, well, it's been a crap season, but fortunately that's come to an end. And so now we actually do have stuff to talk about. I'm Alex. Here with me, as always, is the Honorable Ben. What's up, Ben?
Third overall pick. Overall pick.
Hey, stop it.
Hey, and before I point out that Colin's on the podcast, which I guess I just did, I do want to point out that like I love watching people who are like, yeah, Celebrini, and look, I hope so too. But I also why don't you give Anaheim a call and ask them how that worked out for them last year? I want to remind you of one thing too, Colin. This is for you specifically, because I know you're a hardcore conspiracy theorist over there in Sweden.
Thank you.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories, especially with sports. But I will, unless it's FIFA. But I will say this: doing the lottery behind closed doors is some bullshit. And always will be bullshit. There is no reason you can't do the damn ping pong thing like everyone else, so we can see it happen in real time and go, there's no reason for you to raise doubts.
I mean, you could rig it just as easily in front of everybody.
You could, but you'd sell it better too.
Yeah,
you'd quiet enough people.
Preload that Chicago ball right there, baby. So
Yeah.
I by the way, I just
Yep.
simmed the lottery 4 times, and the Sharks ended up number 3 times. So I'm telling you, here we go.
Oh, man. Now
Yeah,
I've
well-
got to do it.
Well, here's Colin. Hi, Colin.
Yeah. I'm gonna go sim on Tankathon a bit.
Yeah. All right. So long season here, hard season. Pretty much the second worst season in Sharks history, technically. But if you actually were watching those seasons, I would argue this one was less enjoyable to watch than that early season where they lost Stephen Moore. Look, we knew the Sharks were not going to be good this year. Greer stated that pretty early on in the offseason that this was going to be a rebuilding year after plenty of time of not using that naughty word in the organization. We knew right away when Karlsson was out, which was the right move, that it was going to be bad because, well, Karlsson healthy was the only thing kind of holding up the team. And then, of course, we had other things go on throughout the season, which we will talk about here. But let's look at the elephant in the room here, which is pretty obvious. Quinn's gone. Now,
Sorry.
Now, I want to point something out. This I don't think it should be controversial, Ben. I'm looking at you specifically. I want to point something out here.
You can't look at me.
There are a lot of people who I hear go, his job was to tank. I don't agree that his job was to tank.
No.
I do agree that his job was to don't worry about the wins and losses. I definitely think that was on the table. And when you got towards the end of the season where it was like, just put anyone up so we can see them. I think he was given little goals that were not necessarily tied to wins and losses because obviously Greer knew that he was putting out a crap roster. But boy, I tell you what, Quinn obviously didn't even live up to that. But I only point this out because when I hear people go, well, his job was a tank, you know me, guys. I'm not anti-tank, but I'm anti-believing that professionals tank because, having worked with a lot of pro athletes and all of that, like I can tell you right now, that's not how you get into the position you're in. There's no guarantees for you. And I think Quinn is a case in point where if it was Quinn's job to tank, boy, he's not going to see the benefit of it at all. And that definitely, this last season, both seasons, but especially this last season, really, really hurt that guy's chances of coming back up to the NHL, especially after, his Rangers stint and all of that. So if you want to see one person who did not benefit from tanking, it would be that guy. But good move or bad move? I think we're all going to say good move. What's your guys' reaction?
Well, let's start with the fairy tale, the rumor of Quinn, the coach who gives the youth a chance, who works well with youth, and is really good to bring the young players up. Like,
that depends on who you were. Well, that depends on which side you were looking at. If you were looking at if you were talking to Rangers fans, they would have told you the opposite. And if you only looked at his body of work as the New York Rangers, it would definitely tell the opposite story. If you looked at his larger body of work in terms of youth, college, and U.S. men's, the national team and all that kind of stuff, that's where you could sort of see it. So I think for a lot of people, Colin, when it popped up, it was, which is the real Quinn? And I think we found out pretty quickly that NHL Quinn, again, operates for whatever reason, maybe a little bit differently than non-NHL Quinn, right?
Like, it's so weird to say this, but NHL Quinn looks like DeBoer, but without a plan.
What's really weird about that is I was talking.
DeBoer had a system we could understand.
I was talking to someone the other day, and the irony of Quinn's firing, if there is one to me, is we went through a couple of seasons there where we're like, stop throwing everything into a blender immediately.
Yep.
And then Quinn comes in and you go, start throwing things in the blender, goddammit. Make a change. Make a move.
No, that's not what I was saying. So this was the right move. It's very clear to look. I don't. There's a couple of your premises I would challenge here. Is to going into the season, because I think it's pretty clear that nobody on the Sharks administration side, coaching, GM, whatever, thought they were going to be this bad.
No,
right?
No.
Rebuilding doesn't mean worst team in the league and historically bad defensively. I think
bad numbers across the board.
I think they thought this was a team that was better than it was, which again, like nobody outside the organization thought that, and that's problematic. So to me, the Quinn firing it's well earned because he showed absolutely nothing to me in 2 years that says that he is a plus coach, right? That he's going to get more out of anybody than any other coach in the league could. And in fact, I think we have pointed out a lot of time over the last 2 years the ways in which he seems to be very clearly a minus NHL coach.
Yeah.
From player choices as to who's deployed with who's deployed at all. It feels to me like the org was trying to keep the young players away from him this whole year, right? Like we didn't see Bordeleau until the last month. They never let Gushin, who to me earned an NHL job halfway through this season and then got hurt and should have been up the whole time. So by whatever metric he was fired by, which may not be our metric that he's just a bad coach, good. Get him the fuck out. He's terrible.
It kills me. It kills me, Ben, when I see people going, well, his job was the tank and he did that. And also, and also, some of the young guys progressed. And then, they'll name
Did they though?
Right. No. Listen, I'm with you. I'm just saying what other people are saying.
And did they because of him?
Exactly.
Right?
So that was what I was going to point out, because one of the names, and it's not one of the bigger names that get brought up, but I keep hearing people go Bordeleau, and I go, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Bordeleau was down in the AHL and then came up and shouldn't have been really in the AHL.
And by the way, so it's very clear, and actually we saw this once Bordeleau came up, this idea that he was a changed player now at the NHL level, right? Like, and you hear Randy and Baldy talk about this constantly, that he didn't even really show this at the AHL level. And it's like,
Lord.
No, you assholes. Every time he's come up to the NHL, he's shown that the desire and drive and even some ability to stay up in the NHL.
I can tell you this. As someone that went to a lot of CUDA games this season with their kids, every time I saw Bordeleau on the ice, and this isn't because I'm a Bordeleau fan, that guy is skating, awareness, creativity, and focus. Like even warm-ups was so far ahead the rest of the players. Now, was he the most responsible defensively? Not really, but you could just see when you're watching AHL games, regardless of where his numbers were, just eye test, just pure ability, that was not the right league for him to be in.
My point to this was that there was very clear either a coaching narrative or a GM narrative that Bordeleau wasn't ready prior, and now he's up and he's playing better. That's got to be Quinn, right? Like I think they were trying to build that narrative, and it's absolute bullshit.
Oh no. You know what that narrative is? That narrative is trading the Penguins first rounder to go up a couple slots.
Yeah,
Bordeleau and a first rounder right through somebody's window.
But he was brought up after the trade deadline, right? Or am I?
No, but I'm saying at the draft they're gonna flip Bordeleau. Just
stop it!
Don't say that.
Too much like Wilson. Got to get rid of.
First of all, Colin, I'd like to remind you that we technically have 2 picks eligible in the lottery. One of which can end up the number 1. The other one can end up in the just in the top 10, or just outside the top 10, right?
But
so they don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. And this also is not the draft to do it. To be honest with you.
Wait, don't we lose it if it goes up into the top 10?
No. It was where it ended the season.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's that lottery roll can happen and put us back into the top 10.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need to tank up on some more.
Yeah. So
now I'm super excited.
I mean, it's a 1.5% chance that it gets rolled.
I'm a Sharks fan. It's a chance.
Anyway, what I wanted to say further to this is that so there are 2 young players who clearly did grow this year, right? Eklund and Zetterlund both played their best seasons. Did fucking dipshit McStupid have anything to do with that? No, not at all. Like Zetterlund got, I would argue, every opportunity to be good, and great. He deserved it.
Yeah.
Eklund was thrown up and down the lineup for reasons that are, unknown to anybody but Quinn, right? Like, and let me point out, this is something I said at the end of the year, and you guys might not be aware of. he had an incredibly good year for his age.
Yeah,
so
he did.
he ends up with 45 points. Do you know how many points Timo Meyer had in his age 21 season?
Tell us, Ben. Tell us.
35.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too.
Kid's going to be okay.
You want to give credit there. How about the fact that he was able to play in the NHL all season?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, and we've been saying that for a while. Like there are certain people who may not be NHL ready. We don't necessarily agree that the AHL is a great feeder league for the NHL specifically, but there are players that they're not there yet. But then there are players who are not going to benefit from going down, and Eklund was, clearly one of them. And even when he was going down, they were trying to switch his position. And I think that was the other thing that made a big difference for Eklund, was allowing him to play wing, occasionally, instead of forcing him to play center, because he so far has not proven to be a great centerman, but he's really good on the wing. That's okay. That's okay.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. Like, Jumbo didn't become a two-way player until he was 30, guys. Like, he didn't fully...
When he had to.
He didn't fully, like, embrace what it means to be a center until then.
Yeah.
So if you've got a young guy who's focused on, putting pucks in net, and he's... it's not like Eklund is I mean, Eklund is not great defensively, but he's not cunning bad defensively. So, cut him some slack, let him grow, let him contribute positively where he can, and we can develop the other side of things. Which, again, that's the problem, right? That's why Quinn needed to be fired.
Yes,
is that the players clearly grew offensively this year, but the defense never got better.
No, really bad. And I want to point something else out too. Not only did they not get better, but as often as Quinn was able to in post-game interviews call out what they needed to do, he was unable to get them to do it.
Okay.
And so I think, when I look at last season for Greer and Quinn, I wasn't thrilled, but I gave a bit of a pass again because of the timing of when they came in and what they were trying to do. But this is really the first full season where it's like that excuse goes away. And about 10 games into that season, Greer had to sit down. I think it was 10 games. Maybe it was 20. I can't remember. Greer had to come in the locker room and have a talk with the players because they were getting blown out so badly. And that's the thing, is that it wasn't that the Sharks were bad this year. It was that there were long stretches where they were embarrassingly, humiliatingly bad. Like, there is no excuse to be that bad. And for that long either. And then, the ship would get righted for 10 games and then back to getting blown out in double digits. So at the end of the day, whether you believe that his job was to tank or not doesn't really matter, because what he wasn't able to do, Ben, to your point, was motivate the players, get them doing the fundamentals correctly. And regardless of how well he seemed to be aware of that, doesn't matter. Coach has got to be able to motivate the team to play better, to play whatever system they're trying to play.
One caveat I would say, though, is that, Greer only handed him about 1.5 NHL defensemen all year.
Of course.
Right? And
but he didn't do anything with what he had. I
agree. I mean, it took him far too long to realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't put two very slow orange pylons together for the entire season. And even once
he was testing the goal, he was just testing Blackwood and Kakinen, man.
Yeah, like setting them on fire.
He was trying. Look, they knew. Look, again, Ben.
Yeah.
Will it burn?
Quinn knew that his one job, other than tanking, was to trade a goalie, make a goalie tradable.
Yeah.
So that's what he was doing.
I mean, I guess what I would say to that is he still never figured out that you shouldn't put Burroughs and Ferraro together. That was basically a guaranteed, 3-goal pairing, and not in the good way, right?
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they do to solve this, because it's not entirely a coaching problem we're in here, right? There are too many not great players signed to return to the team next year. So
yeah, but they do have space too. I think, but what I'm interested, I'm obviously very interested to see what they do here, because, well, what else am I going to be looking for other than hopefully winning the lottery, but and off-season trades and signings. But But the thing is that like it's interesting because when he got fired, I immediately started looking around to see, all right, well, who could they maybe tap? And there are a lot of names they can tap. It, and listening to Grier a little bit, and again, there's a little bit of PR speak. He's not going to show his full hand at any point in time, even when it seems like he's being honest. He makes it pretty clear that he's looking for some NHL, experience, and so. I started looking around, and obviously you got guys like Woodcroft who are floating around, McClellan who are floating around. And immediately I was like, oh shit. They're going to do what I think they're going to do, aren't they? Because so far when it comes to their development, they've pretty much just brought back ex-Sharks. And so Marco Sturman's name is there now. He's not a bad coach based off of all the stuff that I've seen. That said, I would really like the organization to stop just looking almost internally for everything and do something different. I know they did that with Quinn. I understand. But if we can maybe just for 1 second not see the qualification as being either a ex-Shark who didn't win a cup with the Sharks or someone from Boston, it would be peachy. I would just like to see something outside of that realm because so far everything Grier has done has kind of been one of those two things. But I'm interested to see who they pick, and it seems like to your point, Ben. I think this is one of the areas where I really agree with you in terms of the read that he maybe wasn't getting along with the players in the right way. Is you'll note in Grier's quotes, he does sort of keep saying, understanding what the players need, understanding what the players need.
I mean, to that like larger point, like
I'm not hating on Stern, by the way. At all. They just keep looking. They keep looking in that same direction.
Yeah,
our entire development thing is right now. Our entire I went to a last Barracuda game of season. It was a lot of fun. Turn around. Who's behind me? All my favorite Sharks. But it also hit me that those are all the guys responsible for development now. And I have nothing against any of them. I love Marleau. I love Thornton. I love Ricci. I love Nabby. And some of them I'm sure are great coaches. But it just seems like we can't move on.
Yeah. I think my issue with whoever comes next is I don't trust Grier to pick him. And
you want Joe Will to go?
Well, that's not really what I'm saying, but
well, those are your choices, man.
No. I mean, okay. So let me elaborate. So, Grier fires Quinn, which we all agree is well earned, but do we all agree that he's being fired for the right reasons?
No.
Right?
No.
Okay. Now, the reason we know he may not be getting fired for the right reasons is that Joe McCarthy is still coach of the Barracuda, and they were also historically awful.
Yeah, they're bad. And that's catastrophic for a team that really needs to be developing the youth too.
Yep.
So what do we do?
So what you're saying, Ben? Yeah. You haven't actually outright said it is. Yes, Quinn deserved to be fired because he was doing poorly as a coach, but also Quinn was partially fired.
Sorry, John McCarthy. Sorry.
Yeah, but
my history brain.
Quinn was partially fired to buy Grier time.
That's kind of what I think.
Yeah,
too.
And that's the thing is that and I think some people overlook this a little bit. On the one hand, I'm happy that Grier was able to, be it because of Hasso or not, recognize a mistake and move to rectify it quickly rather than sitting on another season. But the flip is he still did make that mistake.
But okay, so
but
I think the
you
problem
say
I have
that mistake.
Yeah, sorry.
Like you say that mistake, and I don't know. I feel Grier threw just two fistfuls of quarters up in the air and randomly called which one was going to land on heads. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's a good bet. Good bet."
Oh, I don't think he managed. I don't think
he managed to get like 3
all.
of the quarters, and then randomly pulled a 20 out of his pocket. Was like, "I'll give this to somebody for a draft pick." There's just
to your point, Colin. I think the issue is that, and this is an issue I've had with Grier this whole way, is that there's some real schizophrenia.
Yeah.
In that front office, it's like. There are things they do that I go, damn, they're getting it. They're learning. They're making progress, right? Like somebody in that organization, and it might be Grier, right, is learning on the job. And I think the Quinn firing, could be that.
Yeah.
when
It's
then you
both.
don't also take the opportunity to clear out McCarthy's and his staff that are clearly not
Yeah.
getting it done. Why? Like, what's
Yeah.
stopping them from realizing, that it's McCarthy and Quinn are the two Spider-Men pointing at each other,
Yeah.
basically.
And
Right?
I
and
found that extremely surprising and confusing.
Yeah.
If you had asked me who would get fired this season, assuming there was going to be someone fired, I would have told you that there was a higher likelihood that they would have moved McCarthy and probably kept Quinn another season because I
Yeah,
wanted
I
them
agree.
to. And yet the opposite happened. And part of me was like, do they think that McCarthy is under the radar for fans? Because I think the tough thing is, most of the time, do we care that heavily about the AHL? But when you're rebuilding, it becomes critical. So
well,
it's just weird.
but it also just comes down to what was the team that these coaches were supposed to like create like an identity around, because Greer's saying hard hitting, tough to play against, smothering team, all those sorts of, no longer the soft sharks. And it's like, okay, cool. Does that mean we're playing like a trap? Are we LA, or are we just going to be, hyper defensive? Are we going to be Carolina? Are we going to be Islanders? No, we're just going to be a whole lot of didn't show up, and why did I put my skates on? Like there is no identity. And if Greer, if there was a conversation where Greer was like, hey, here are the points I told you to hit, you didn't hit those, I feel I gave you enough time, you're out, we'll never know about it, but at least it's like, okay, cool. But then it's like, oh, what's the next choice? If the next choice is Old Shark and not somebody who's known to put in those sorts of, defensive, hard to play against systems, then
Well, I think Colin, one of the keys there, and this is what's starting to drive me nuts about that dialogue, is can they define for me what they think hard to play against is? Because I thought I knew what they thought it was, and now I think they just keep saying that, and I don't think they know themselves fully.
Yep.
I think they do know what it means to them, but it's back asswards to how to win these days.
I
right?
thought they meant grindy, but the guys they picked up didn't do that at all and weren't going to.
Yeah.
That's what's confusing to me.
Well, I wouldn't 100% agree with that. I think they absolutely at the NHL level
I think Granlund
played. Well, no, not Granlund, but I'm thinking Cunnin, yes. Klim Kostin, yes.
Who's he grinding down? I like Kostin, but who are they grinding down?
I think they're thinking of it. I'm not saying he is that. I mean, I think he would like to play that way, and he certainly hit people more so than Granlund did. I think Granlund was just what he could shake loose in the Pennsylvania trade or Pittsburgh trade. And also he was looking in that particular trade for guys who would score and he could move. I don't think he was looking for the grinders because these aren't long-term.
You can't.
Granlund is not a long-term.
You can't grind anything, Ben, if you're not in position in the first place.
Well, that's I don't disagree, which is why. And that's the problem with most grinders is that they're not going to be in position to actually effectively, separate people from the pucks. Hitting is not a winning stat. Hitting is a stat you accumulate when you don't have the puck. Right. It's a mirage. Anyway, but but you're right in the sense that it's not the players that they've picked. In the draft over the last year, it's not the players that are actually going to make an impact, right? Like Will Smith, not a grinder,
right? Do you trust Ben? I know the answer. I'm only throwing this out there so people actually hear it out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Based off of everything you were saying, and we're nodding to, do you trust Greer to make the correct call on this next coach?
No. No, not at all. Like the correct call is either
throw all the money at Trotz. I agree.
Well, Trotz would be fine. Him or Boudreau, to be honest. I'd
get him out of that GM position. Get all the monies.
There's a couple of guys who are very clearly, who have prior NHL experience, who are clearly plus coaches. There's not a lot.
Ben, are you right now saying that you would prefer Quenneville? Is that what you're saying?
No, I would like to see Quenneville never come back into the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
But if he weren't a piece of shit who had let sexual harassment and awful stuff go on under his, coaching career and then covered it up, yes, Quenneville would be great. Should he be forever banished from the league, though? Yes, he should be. And I don't want to see him. Trotz, sure. Bruce Boudreau, yes. Beyond
Trotz
that,
is in another position. I was just kidding. You're not going to actually pull him.
Well, you brought him up, so I'm just saying, yes, I would take him. But I think more likely you're going to have to try to find somebody at a lower level who does really have a track record, unlike David Quinn, of benefiting young players, not just being put in place to coach them, but actually benefiting their growth. Which means you look at AHL teams, I guess, or you look at guys who are failing in their current position, but were really good in the AHL. Like
people want people want David Carl out of Denver for NCAA. I don't think they're going to be able to get him. But I will say this: the one maybe positive about the timing here is that there's a decent likelihood. I mean, it's still up to him, but there's a decent likelihood that that Will Smith comes up. And if the Sharks win the lottery, they have Celebrini. And all of a sudden, when you and that's just two players, but when you look at that and you look at some of the other younger players that they have, it's not the least appealing. Like, when we got Quinn, it wasn't a whole lot appealing at that point in time. Whereas here, now the Sharks technically ought to be starting that upswing. So
I mean, even the timing on the Quinn firing was really weird, by the way, guys. Let's acknowledge that.
Yep.
That it didn't happen like right after locker clear out. It happened, a week and a half ago. It felt to me almost like Greer spent time talking, not just to within the org, but maybe to guys like Smith, like hey man, you're probably thinking about whether you're going to stay in college and try to get the national championship next year. What's keeping you from maybe coming up with us immediately? And it's not unlikely that he said, I will never play for that fucking guy. Who I've watched very young people.
I doubt it.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If I were Will Smith, I'd be like, the first thing you need to do if you think I'm going to come up is get rid of that coach.
I didn't think timing was weird at all, because typically there are a lot of coaches that will get fired after post-season interviews with the team and players and evaluation.
Usually they get tanked like 2 or 3 days after locker clean out. Like the team gets
this was like what, a week? It's not.
It's a good couple of weeks after the Sharks were done. I felt like, to me anyway. But
no. Locker clean out was literally like the same week of the week before. It was 4/20. It was the locker clean out. So no, I mean the timing wasn't weird at all. But I agree with you, Ben. I think Greer. First of all, I think Greer knew he was going to move on from Quinn earlier in the season, and then he used the end time, air quote, responsibly, to sit down and talk with players and go, all right, what's the deal here? What is it that you would like to see? Take Quinn out of the equation for a second. What is it that you want to see? What is it that you think we need? And he probably got, and all the answers probably pointed to, this isn't the guy. And that just solidified it. And that's why he did it. But there's other things that happened this season, guys. So not just Quinn. No, we don't have a coach at the moment. But this season, the preseason, we saw Carlson get traded. Later in the season, at the trade deadline, we saw Hertl got traded, which was real, gut punch for a lot of Sharks fans. But let's pick this apart a little bit here. Let's find our pluses and minuses.
Bright spots.
Yeah. Well, no. I don't want to just do bright spots, because I do think we need to, because it was a bad season.
Mm-hmm.
Highs and lows.
Highs and lows. Oh man.
I'll give you a high. I'll give you a high to start.
All right.
Eklund up all season.
All right. Fair enough. I don't know. I've been actually pretty keen on our goaltending, especially Blackwood, because they've been getting shelled all season. And there were a couple games where the goaltending was kind of magical. And even if that doesn't translate to us having these guys next season, it at least makes them look shiny for possible trade value.
You will.
No, I'm just saying, like, maybe you flip them. But I think our complete lack of any presence on any part of the ice really let these goaltenders shine, and I was surprised Greer couldn't flip Blackwood.
I
try to.
Well, no, I think he was going to keep either Kakinen or Blackwood, whichever one he couldn't trade, and I would have expectations, Colin, that Blackwood will be back and that Vanacek will probably be there as well, because Vanacek's untradeable. Like Devin Cooley, that was a great story. It was kind of fun to see. Will he, won't he win? Based off of what was going on. Watching his mom on and off was either funny or depressing, depending on how long the camera lingered in which game. But I would agree. I mean, look, Blackwood, to me, Blackwood made a case to stay. He's not particularly expensive. I thought he did a good job for the shit defense in front of him. And he definitely kept the Sharks in a lot more games than they deserve to be in. So I don't really have an issue with him, for next year. And I'm not overly concerned about the goaltending, but the low point for me to draft off that would be the defense was just atrocious and continued to be atrocious.
Well, I mean, it's bad players. So
but they got to fix that, because if you're going to have guys like Will Smith, fingers crossed, Celebrini coming in, hey, that's great, but your D is so bad that is going to affect.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, though.
It doesn't have to be.
They made the choice to play Ferraro. Yeah. They made the choice to play Ruda. They made the choice to play. I mean, Vlasic was okay. He was definitely not the weak point on this, but he's not going to continue to be okay.
He was shockingly
Thrun showed flashes of what we hoped he would be, but he was often, paired up with, one of those real boat anchors, so it's hard to know. I thought Emberson was actually the best defenseman we had all year, and then when he got hurt, that was too bad. McDonald is a nothing burger. Burrows is god awful. And Benning was worse this year than last year.
Ruda? Get to Ruda.
I said Ruda.
Oh,
I said
Ruda. I must have blacked out.
Ferraro and Ruda, I said, are real bad.
Yeah.
And so, the good thing is Mukhamadullin looks really good at the AHL level, so he should get a chance next year. I think they should probably try to convince Gawanke to come back, because he was doing very well, but it was very clear something was stopping the org from giving him an opportunity at the NHL level. That could have been dipshit McFuckstick that they just fired.
But you know what? Considering that guy came over on the promise to play, I don't think you can control that guy and coming back at all.
Well, you give him one way contract.
No, I don't think you fool me. You can't fool me once.
Look, I don't think they could, but I would make the try.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we still own his rights, so go.
Let's real quick. Let's just review one thing, okay?
Yeah.
Right now, okay, we have Granlund for next season.
Mm-hmm.
LeBanc and Hoffman are coming off the books. I do not see those guys getting re-signed. Luke Kunin is an RFA. I do see them keeping him, because they of course they're going to. Barabanov is off the books. Now, they obviously wanted to trade him, and that came out that the issue was the retention spot, which they used on Hurdle instead.
Yeah, stupid.
Sturm, Kostin, Zetterlin are coming back. Zadina is an RFA. Graf will be back. Bordelot is an RFA, but he's not a class 2 because he hasn't played enough seasons up here. Eklund will be back. Giovanni Smith will be back unless they move him for a pick or something.
So Bailey, there's the thing. Smith was good on the fourth line for the time that he was allowed to play.
He cost nothing too. So let me keep going. So Justin Bailey's a UFA. Ryan Carpenter's a UFA. Studnicka is a RFA, and then we're going to have Vlasic back, Ferraro back, Ruda back, Burrows back. Thrun is he's an RFA, but not a class 2. Addison is an RFA. McDonald is a UFA. Mackenzie Blackwood will be back. Devin Cooley is a UFA. I don't see him coming back. And then you've got Emberson is an RFA. Lindblom is a UFA. So that's kind of what you're looking at. I know I went through a lot of names. There's no way you remember all of them. Go to Cap Friendly. You will see where they are. They do have a lot of money coming off the books, which is good. You also, we don't know what's going to go on with Couture. The Couture would be another low of the season for me. That's just a, regardless of how you feel about Couture in general, they definitely missed having him. And also that's kind of a shit way to potentially have to end your career, or sad way.
Well, yeah. So like, to be clear, what is the low with Couture that you're pointing to? That he wasn't able to play all season, and it looks like his career it depends. Locker room clean out, he made it sound like he'll be back next season, but that was a hard, as much as it became clear that we were going to finish last, and then at that point you wanted them to get the best lottery ads, and regardless of whether or not you think that Couture is a good captain, Couture is a good player, and it just kind of sucks to see a player potentially fizzle out
because of a good player.
Hey,
he's 35, and he just spent an entire year with groin issues.
No,
so weird to think Couture at 35.
But hold on,
I know, right?
Man. But one thing to point out, though, I agree, and I think that's what I'm saying. The low is that injury situation, but you can't deny that the few games he came back in, Sharks looked pretty all right.
Yeah.
Right. So he's definitely he can definitely still play when healthy, but the injury I think is the low.
So to me, the best thing Couture can do is retire. Long-term, or sorry, not retire, just go on long-term injury reserve, like never healthy again. We can ignore his
and waive his no trade,
his cap. No, nobody's going to trade for him.
No, yeah.
I don't think
Arizona.
I don't think the new Utah Blizzard are going to need to bury, an $8 million contract.
People are going to be howling for dead cap. Just watch the GMs burn through that cap.
Did you say howling because Arizona?
Oh, Jesus, no. No.
Let's not call them the Blizzard, by the way. Latter-day Skates, I think, was a good one. That's still a great one. But Blizzard, you can't call the second they trademark that Blizzard. I guarantee you, the Avalanche were on the phone with the NHL, going, "Hold on."
Who cares?
Well, no, it's the Avalanche versus the Blizzard for the Donner.
I think that's a great rivalry, actually. So I'm all for it. Anyway, I actually have a conspiracy theory about Couture, which is that when he came back and he played, he actually boosted the team too much. So Greer showed up outside his house one night and pulled his leg until the groin injury reactivated.
I don't think Greer would do that, Ben. I think what Greer would do is say, "Hey, I'm so happy you're healthy. Why don't we have a couple of nights out together, celebrate that? Let's go rock climbing. We'll do some hurdle jumps."
So where they jumped over hurdle before they moved him?
We'll go to one of those trampoline places. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay, I subscribe to your vision of the let's fuck with Couture so he doesn't know I'm trying to blow out his groin.
Yeah, why not? Okay, other highs and lows here.
Yeah,
that you can identify.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think the high point is all the people who have been screaming "burn it down," me included. We've gotten exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, way to go, monkey paw.
You can't burn it down much harder than this, other than some tactical draft time trades.
I tell you what, man, they top three, they will still get a good player, but this is not last year's draft. If they do not get, and I'm not counting on them getting Celebrini, but if they don't, boy, will there be a moment of heartache with Sharks fans who have pinned all their hopes on winning that lottery. And I hope we do, because if we get Celebrini and then you have Smith coming up, again, we got guys like, Graf, I thought was a pretty good signing. You got, I like Kostin coming in. Zetterlund is looking better. We still don't have the level of offensive power. Granlund had a good season to me. So you get Celebrini up, that will potentially accelerate parts of this rebuild. If you don't, you're further off there, even with some of the other good players that you can pick up.
So you just kind of ripped through a whole bunch of highs there.
Yeah, let me be more clear about the highs. So Granlund is clearly a high. I don't understand why they didn't try to move him at the trade deadline. But
who says they didn't?
I mean, there was no noise about it, but whatever. I'll leave that aside. Like Greer talked about what he did try to do, and Granlund wasn't brought up. He could have chosen not to bring it up. I think any team that didn't try to get Granlund is stupid. I mean, he ends up with 60 points in 69 games.
I suspect the issue, and Greer knew this right away because this is what, and it was a little bit different with Barabanov being a UFA and Granlund not being a UFA. I think the issue was on Granlund's contract that people were probably going to ask to retain salary, and Greer knew he had one salary retention spot left, and so it was going to more likely be Barabanov, who was a UFA, which is why there was a conversation with the Rangers, or when the Hurdle thing, whenever Hurdle brought up the, hey, you sold me on a fake bill of goods here, I want out.
To me, that doesn't stop you from shopping Granlund. That doesn't stop you.
No. I'm not saying
which of you teams that are going to ask us to retain salary are going to give us the best deal.
Yeah, right? Like, I agree. I just think he knew. I think he knew that it was either going to be Barabanov or Hurdle.
Here's the thing: like if you're Greer, you acquired Granlund for this purpose. Right? Yeah. And this goes back to why I think the Hurdle trade was bad. Is that he bypassed the plan to make a suboptimal trade of a guy that he wanted out, but you know what? You fucking signed here, so we'll get to you when we can.
Yeah.
Anyway, Granlund bright spot because I don't mind him still being around. I just think he has more value, getting shipped out as soon as you can.
Of course.
Eklund,
and he may still. You got the draft coming up, right? That's a perfect time.
Eklund, huge bright spot to me. Age 21 season, 45 points. I think he did everything he could in the shitty situations he was put into, both by the talent level of the team and the way he was deployed by Quinn. Like Eklund, if anybody got Quinn fired by bitching to Quinn, it's Eklund. Like, if I have to pass to Luke Cunnin in the slot one more fucking time, I'm going to break my goddamn stick over Cunnin. Is probably how he.
Oh, but they're gonna resign Cunnin.
Shut up.
Yeah, man.
Shut up. Zetterlund, to me, big bright spot. He's at the right age. He's not Eklund talented, but he's a guy that I think could hang around a while. So I think that was good pickup.
Yeah.
Zadina, never going to be anything. That's my take on Zadina at this point. Is that he's Luke Cunnin with slightly better hands, and that's too bad because I think it was the right move to try to give him a shot. And of course, what is he RFA this year?
It was a low risk.
It's a good risk.
Yeah.
You pay, unlike some other ones that they've made. He's 24, but I say you could look at Zetterlund and Zadina. They're both 24. Which of them had a really good year? It's Zetterlund. What you would have hoped for from Zadina was exactly the same, and you didn't get it. Hoffman. Wow. Wow, that guy sucked. Effort level, ability, everything, F-. You know how I feel about Cunnin. There were idiots in my mentions, at the beginning of this year talking about how good Cunnin was actually last year. And boy, well, he wasn't. A, he wasn't that good last year. B, he was dog shit this year. We're in trouble if the Sharks resign.
The organization continues to try to push that narrative too, like he's great. And my take on it is, players seem to like him. He may be great in the locker room, but he's not good on. But he's not good on the ice.
New Barracuda coach, Luke Cunnin, go.
They're gonna do that. Damn it! They're gonna do that.
No, they're not. They like McCarthy. Anyway, and then beyond that, the high level, the D was bad. I still have some hope for Addison. Boy, though, his meltdowns that got him ejected from like 2 straight games. By the way, speaking of Quinn, the coach, how the fuck do you run Calen Addison out the game after he gets himself thrown out? If you're an accountability guy, then how the fuck do you run him out game 3 after he gets kicked out 2 games in a row? Like, what the fuck?
At that point, I'm pretty sure they were like, just whatever. But that's been the
whole season. Problem,
lose,
Alex.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. No, I agree.
you at least, I don't know, man. Like, I like giving young players rope. We know this, right? And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, there you make a mistake in a shift, right? You put yourself in the wrong position in a shift. I don't think you should be benched. I don't think you should miss a game. But you get yourself thrown out because you
Yeah.
called the ref a cunt
Cool
or
off.
whatever he
Yeah.
did,
Cool off.
whatever word you're not allowed to use. That's a little different, right? That I think that earns a press box slot for a game.
Well,
You do
not
it twice in a row? And anyway,
You don't want that. You don't want that frustration to fester and then permeate either.
Justin Bailey, garbage. Get rid of him. Barabanov, I'll miss him, but he wasn't very good this year. Nico Sturm continues to not actually be very good. Whatever. Carpenter, let him go. Bordelot, yay. Thrun, again, Thrun and Emberson, I think, are the bright spots, you know, of the young defensemen. Jacob McDonald, what the fuck is he even doing here?
I know, yeah.
LeBanc, goodbye. Colin Graff, what'd you guys think of Graff?
Too early to tell, but
Yeah.
I'm happy with that signing. It's low risk, it's cheap, and he's got promise, and he's excited to be here. So, like, for me right now, what I'm looking for with any players that I pick up, ideally, and they can't all be young. So let me just push that aside. Like, we will need a couple of vets in there to some extent. Hopefully, better picks than we had last year. Again, last time, Granlund being one of the better ones there. But right now, I am looking for young guys.
Yeah.
I'm giving them the promise of playing time. That's how I'm luring them, which is exactly what I think they did with.
They must have, right?
Yep.
Yes, and I it's the same thing they did with Thrun last year. And I'm continuing to look for those guys, the guys who want to be here, the guys who are excited to have the opportunity, and the guys who understand the position that we are in, because I want them to look at the situation and go, hey, you know what? I could be part of this new core with Smith and maybe Celebrate or whoever, like and Eklund, and like Graff reads to me as one of those guys who really wants it. So I don't think we necessarily saw enough of him, just given timing. But he's not expensive. He's very young. He had a great NCAA year, and I have, decent hopes for him. So those are the types of guys that I am reaching for, young in terms of youngin. As far as older, like 20, 26 and above, I don't want a ton of those necessarily. I do want the right type of players. I do want players who can display leadership on and off the ice, on being the key there. Because again, I think, regardless of whether or not you think Nico Sturm or Kunin are good on the ice, the players seem to like them off the ice. But you got to have, to some extent, you got to have both, obviously. And who are also aware of the situation and who want to be a part of that. I think the sell here really needs to be, this is where we are. This is where we're headed. This is the vision, which has to be clearly defined. These are the players we're building it around. Do you want to be a part of that and help build that with us? Yes? Cool. You don't care? No, I don't need you. I'd rather find guys that do.
Curious, because I've the free agents this offseason, especially some of the potentials if they don't get re-signed, it's kind of interesting. And on one hand, a massive low for me was the Hertl trade, because I just feel like that was a bad time to trade something that had value when you probably could have waited till draft or offseason and traded for more. However, doing a dumb thing to get a player onto a team which very much could win the cup again this year. Oh, as much as I hate that, it does feel like good signaling for future pickups to be like, hey,
we'll ship you to a cup contender.
We'll springboard you into it, even if we have to cut our own throat a little bit.
Well, do you know what the hard thing, Colin, is? One of the hard things with the Hertl trade is, regardless of his age, regardless of his injuries, and regardless of his contract, Hertl is a type of player that is fairly difficult to make up for at least for the next few seasons of where his capabilities will be before he falls off a cliff potentially. And you're not very likely to find that caliber of player at that skill level in free agency. I mean, you have to remember that most free agents, they're on the wrong side of that aging curve. So, what you're not doing is you're not signing one of those to a crazy long term, unless all of a sudden it's like, Crosby or McDavid, you can maybe consider. I wouldn't do long term for either of those because, Crosby because of his age. But again, like, the loss of what Hertl was capable of providing is going to be difficult for the Sharks to make up without a trade. It's not going to come from free agency. And if it comes from the draft, great, but it won't for a while. So that's sort of, that's the bummer there is they don't have offense right now. I don't think Will Smith coming up is going to make them suddenly have a ton of offense either, because he much like Eklund, Will Smith can score.
He's got to pass to Cunnin. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's got to pass to somebody.
No, but here's the thing. If you watch Will Smith, because I watched a bunch of games this season with Will Smith because I was really interested in seeing him play. Can Will Smith score at the NCAA level? Yeah. He also has incredible line mates, which you can't really, you do have to acknowledge. But he also very much to me feels more playmaker-y. So you still got to have a supporting cast that can put it in the net.
Need to cheat you.
He still has to pass to Luke Cunnin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point I was leading up to
hold on.
is
Could you imagine Ben's I would want to be a fly on the wall for the game. Quinn's not here anymore, but I'm going to say like Quinn, where Quinn puts Will Smith and Eklund on the wings of Cunnin. Oh, boy. Would that be a meltdown?
No, but here's the thing.
I'm all on defense with Ruda and Ferraro.
I'm all for it, because what would happen is Eklund and Will Smith would spend all game setting each other up because they both have decent but not great shots.
It would be McDavid and Draisaitl.
No, they'd be like Thornton when the clock was running out, and you'd be like, just shoot it. Stop passing it to each other.
No. It'd be like McDavid and Draisaitl, and they'll just pass it off of Cunning's shin pads into the net. Didn't McDavid
Wait, hold on a second. Did you just compare Draisaitl to Luke Cunnin?
No, I compared Draisaitl to Will Smith.
Okay.
Or I guess he'd be McDavid in this case. Eklund can be Draisaitl.
Whose pads are catching the pass and getting the goal? That's where I'm not clear here.
Wasn't it Hyman that?
Okay. I'm with you now. Okay.
I mean, look. Here's your top. I think these are if I'm correct, the top UFAs are going to be based off of play just this last season. Are probably going to be Reinhart, Stamkos, Gunsel, Raymond, Marchessault. But again, a lot of these guys are 30s. Pavelski. Oh, they're gonna do it, aren't they?
Okay, so here's my question. Here's my question though. With that wonderful signaling from Hertl of the Hertl trade, do either of you want to see Wilson go out and like throw a bunch of money at free agency just to like inflate this team somehow, like just artificially inflate it through free agency?
I can't hear anything you're saying because I am now convinced that the Sharks are going to bring back on a short contract Pavelski to be a leader in the locker room, and because they know the fans will go apeshit. Could you imagine? Now I'm not saying it's the right move, but could you imagine if Smith comes up, they get Celebrini, and Pavelski's back? You got something in the market again, friends. You got something in the market.
I would do
Pavelski, Reinhart, and Stamkos.
I would do it. I would do it for cheap
leadership and grit.
I would do it for cheap enough.
I would do it for any amount of money, but why would Pavelski do it? That's my question.
Yeah, no.
Move home, deal with his friends. Greer's going to promise him
none of his friends are here anymore.
What are you talking about? All his friends are development coaches.
Oh, we found him. We found the guys. We found the CUDA coach. Plays Pavelski for the Sharks. Coaches the CUDA. Or shit, fuck it. Let's bring Pavelski back as player coach of our San Jose Sharks. You got me, Alex. Let's do it. If anybody is going to be an amazing NHL coach out of the current generation of players, it's Joe Pavelski, and I'm not bullshitting.
No, yeah, I agree.
When I say that.
That would make sense.
Let's fucking do it.
He was the heart of the team.
Player coach Joe Pavelski. Not only was he the heart of the team, teams tried to beat that heart out of him night after night and leave it on the ice. So.
Want to talk about fixing the narrative of the leadership gap? You bring fucking Joe Pavelski back. I guarantee you. Listen. Here's the thing too, and I'm not saying this is gonna happen at all. I'm just gonna try to will it to happen here.
Yeah.
I think teams may make the same. I don't know. I can't say this for sure, but I think teams are going to make the same mistake that we made, which was, look, that guy ought to fall off a cliff, and for some reason he isn't. And so I wonder how heavy at 39 Suitors will be. And if you can get him for a year or two at low enough, fuck, man, I would do it. I'd do it right away. In fact, I am. Is there a magic lamp I can rub, or is there like a god to pray to? That would be great, just for season or two. I would be excited. I'll be excited if Will Smith comes up and Celebrini comes up. If they don't, I will tell you this: I will not be very excited about next. I'll still watch, but it will not be a fun season.
Yeah,
give me something to root for.
Yeah, please give me. But that's the problem with this offseason for me is like the Sharks are going to have all the money, and it's just like, oh, I could build a team out of free agency. Surely no GM has ever tried to do that before.
Stop that. You're a bad man.
I'm worried that they can bring Duclair back. There's a bunch of things they can do again, but to your question earlier, Ben, who would be attracted to the situation. And again, I do think that is one of the things that hinges on this draft lottery and this coaching hire.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you get Celebrini and you can get Smith up, it becomes way more appealing. Yeah. And if you can get the right coach in, you might actually be able to pull.
I actually do think that if you're a coach who is looking to build your career, the San Jose, even if Smith doesn't come up next year, this is the time to get in, right?
Yeah.
Take because you're not going to get fired after this first year, right? You've got this year to be all fucked up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the team should be looking for a coach who is excited about not this year, but
Quenneville
2 years
rehabilitation tour.
Fuck off.
Hey man, you don't think the NHL is going, oh, you want to come back, huh?
No, I mean, they gave that douchebag Babcock another try, and he fucked that up right away. So
they're gonna look at like Gallant or something like that,
I mean, I don't want Gallant either, but
I am sad Wah got a job.
I'm just happy Tortorella's wasn't fired
yet.
I mean,
because I guarantee you they would have been looking in that direction to some extent.
Why do you got to do this to me, Alex?
Because it's common sense.
No. Come on. Common sense is the Leafs are going to implode. Keefe is going to get ejected, and he's going to land in San Jose.
I would not hate Keefe as a coach of the Sharks.
Do you think the Sharks are going to pull up any of their assistant coaches? No, I don't.
Please, I sincerely hope not.
They did bring that kid in and put him on the staff that was a guy with a reputation in possibility of being. Can't remember his name. What's that?
Warovsky.
I'd like to see them retain him.
Yeah,
I'd like to see whoever comes in as coach.
I would prefer they let so this is something that I haven't liked that the Sharks have done the last couple of seasons is I would prefer, if you are going to bring in a new coach, let the coach choose his fucking staff. I'm not a massive fan of them going, here's some random pieces, because that's kind of what they did.
They did that to Quinn.
Here's Quinn. Well, they did it to Bufner too.
But Bufner couldn't coach anyway, right? So those guys had to do everything.
I'm just saying, if you want to set up this organization well, pick the right coach.
Yeah.
Let the coach bring in the people that he believes he needs. Don't tell him what to do. Let him have trust in that. That's a high position to me. Have trust in that position to make the correct calls for the team. If you can't do that, I don't think you really trust the coach. I don't think you're letting the coach really establish what he needs to. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb to me.
I mean,
it's fine for you. It's fine for you after season to go, hey man, I know you picked this guy. I don't think this one's working out. Let's find another one.
I guess.
But what I don't want them to do, the one encouraging thing I think was when they were asked about this specifically, they said, well, we'll leave that up to the next coach to figure out, which I thought was great because that is not what they had done prior. So, my take. Any other highs, lows?
Ooh,
I mean, the CUDA are low, but Gushin and Maka
but going to games is fun.
Yeah, totally. It's a great.
But their concessions are low. And by the way, I'm not spending like $70 on an effing shirt for the CUDA that I know was made in a sweatshop. You guys are an AHL team, man. I just want to get my kids and myself some merch, and you're pricing it up like at NHL prices. And Sharks NHL prices are ridiculous as well with their like silk screen sweatshirt that's like $300. Get out of here. Know what you are. Be the Legoland to the rest of the NHL's Disneyland. You know, just get it. What do we have to look forward to, guys? So May 7th is when they're going to do the lottery. That will obviously be a
number 3. Number 3. Number 3.
What do you and we will definitely pod, in the offseason when there's stuff to pod, probably on the draft and the lottery, just depending on where that nets out, free agency. But what are you guys what are you guys looking forward to next season? And be real with this one. No joke answers here.
Ooh.
How dare you?
Or do you see anything? And if you don't, you don't. That's fine. That's fair too.
Well, but that's the thing is, for me, if we see the kids come up and play, like if we see the team just take a runner and like Musty and Haltunen even are up, I'm excited. Like,
I think if
watching
Musty,
a kids team play, I am so there for it.
I think if Musty has the camp that he had last year, I think you're stupid to not bring him up because he had a good camp last year.
He also had an incredible season at the OHL, so let's not just worry about camp.
I know.
This is part of the problem with NHL teams is that they're like, oh yeah, great season there, but do you show it across 3 fucking days we give you? At rookie camp.
It's longer than that, but no, but that's the thing. But there is a difference in caliber player that you are playing with and against. So like I agree.
Yes,
like, he had a great season, and I think he's ready.
Guys,
my point is, if he also has a stellar camp and they don't do that, then I'm like, what are you doing? That's stupid.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I know you guys. I know a lot of fans like to fixate on the fact that it's not the NHL level. But that's why we have fucking comparables, and we can look at, if a guy performs like this at a particular level, that projects to this at the NHL level. And let me assure you guys that Will Smith and Quentin Musty are both going to be pretty fucking good NHLers based on those comparables.
Good.
So that is what a smart organization would be saying about Quentin Musty right now is camp. Yes. Do you want to make sure he shows up and he comports himself well at camp and he's absorbing, what the coaches are trying to tell him and what have you. But, the games that are played in camp, you're playing with AHL quality players too, right?
Yeah,
to pin, like, did he get 4 goals in camp or not is stupid.
I don't think that. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I don't think you do that, but you are playing against bigger, stronger guys. So
sure.
What you're hoping not to see is any massive dip or fall off. And even if you do, you still have to judge that against a larger body and projections.
Yes.
But my point, Ben, was really more, I thought he had a stellar camp. Disregarding his season, he had a stellar camp last season.
I agree with you.
Like he could have made it. He could have and probably should have made it right then and there. So I agree. If Musty. I would have had him up.
Musty is actually
that would have been rough.
I think Musty is an interesting situation where I was happy. I know this is rare, folks, for me to say this, but because he was picked later in the first round, I feel like it was good to see him play another year in the OHL. Now, do I think he should start the season with the Sharks? Yeah. Do I think he's going to get put on the AHL team? Yeah. And I'm sad having said
and that's the thing though, is like if let's say Greer goes out, gets a couple, maybe it'd be novel for him to get a couple top 6 forwards in free agency instead of 13th, 14th forwards. But he goes out and he gets a couple money pieces to try to bolster the ranks. To me, that means they're signaling, okay, we're gonna throw the kids back into the Barracuda chum waters for another season. And just crank out another smoldering hit for another lottery chance.
I think if he doesn't get Celebrini, I think the chances of him looking toward a top 6 defenseman in the draft are probably pretty decent.
Oh yeah,
that's just my take. Hey, 3 stars, guys of the season. I know it's been a tough
Hold on,
season.
I didn't say.
You go.
Give me a chance to tell you what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, what are you looking forward to?
well, I mean, I want to see.
I didn't say it either. That's a good point.
I want to see Bistedt, and I want to see Musty,
right.
and I want to see Houtenoon at camp, and I would like to see one or more of those guys make the NHL team out of camp. I'd like to see them construct a team around the youth,
Yes,
and less so have worthless 26-year-old, 28-year-old, 33-year-old pieces of shit taking up roster spots. And which, but to their credit, seems to be what they're trying to move away from, right? If they're going to let Barabanov walk, they tried to move him. Great. LeBank's not coming back. It's definitely the right call at this point. You know,
I think that call and I agree with you, Ben. I think that was one of the things that I didn't like about the season was I was hoping to see the new core start to build, and then the vets be the supporting cast. And instead, we saw them try to do the opposite. But I will say this: I think that only occurs if Smith comes up and or they get Celebrini. If Smith's going to stay down in the NCAA another year, I don't know that I see them. I think they're hinging a lot around the team being built more around him than Eklund these days. Just my 2 cents. So if he's not coming up, I'd be interested to see whether or not we actually finally see that transition or not.
Well, I want to see, and it would make me happy to see, guys like not just Musty, but Cagnoni,
Goosh,
you know, Makamadullin, get some NHL minutes, right? We need to know what they are, and honestly, you want to know what they are before you start bringing in guys who are younger as well, right? Like, there's no reason Makamadullin should play any more AHL time. He's shown that he can play on North American ice quite well, and you don't have something better to be putting on the ice at that level.
Right.
So give him a fucking chance. You know, and I feel sort of the same way about, at the very least, I don't know, maybe a guy like, I mean, Gushin never should play an AHL game again. Same dealio as Makamadullin. He did what was asked of him. He was very good at the AHL level. Even if we don't get Will Smith, you know, coming up next year, I feel like you've got to at least have those two guys up. If you send Musty back to the OHL for another year, whatever, because Smith's not here and you want to delay that cohort, you know, starting their NHL time, fine. But Bistedt, give him a shot. Edstrom, give him a shot.
And just our overall team size would jump if Bistedt and Muck both joined.
I can tell you, I saw him play on the CUDA, and that guy's big. He wasn't. He didn't have a noticeable game. It was one game, so small sample size. But yeah, he's got size.
Are you talking about Makamadullin or?
Makamadullin and Bistedt are both big people.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought
Makamadullin didn't play that game. Unfortunately, I was bummed.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bistedt did fine in his few games here with the CUDA. So you know, I want to see what he does in camp. If he ends up with the CUDA for a period of time, whatever, like,
oh, you want to see what he does in camp, do you?
With him, I don't think you need to. With
I know, I just giving
because Bistedt didn't light up the Swedish leagues, guys. Like,
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do on the coaching side, because I think that is here's what I'm watching really closely this offseason. I'm watching obviously the coaching hire, because I think it's going to say a lot. I am watching to see whether or not they win the lottery. I am watching to see what they do in free agency and whether Will Smith comes up. And I think that will set up a either very exciting camp or a very muted camp. And by muted, I mean, you know, again, I think we're all chomping at the bit, pun intended, to start seeing the new Sharks. And we didn't really get a chance to see that this year. We didn't see it last year. We had a lot of interim players, holdovers to kind of tide the time. I'm hoping we start to see that going into camp, you know, where we do have that team again, to your point, Ben. I think you worded it perfectly. That is built around that new youthful core, and that is exciting and ready to go. Because even if they lose at that point, if I have faith in the coaching staff and I have faith in those players, and we get to see them actually play together, then it'll be compelling. It'll be compelling to see them finally grow together instead of growing in these like completely separated jigsaw puzzle parts with filler stuff between. So that's, I think we're all on the same page with that. And I think it's going to be, to me, this is actually a very exciting offseason because we do have so many players potentially coming off the books and potentially coming off the books. We do now have, I would have been less enthused if we still had Quinn, but we don't. So now it's sort of like it's a restart again, but with a little bit more opportunity now that Smith may be ready. And again, we have a lottery pick.
I think a counter to what Colin is maybe looking for of like a run in free agency, though. Honestly, you spent so much time getting older players off the books. This would not be the year I would look to like dump a shit ton of money on, I don't know, 29-year-old Jake Guentzel.
No, me neither. Right? I think it'd be a horrible move.
Okay.
But like again, we've talked about this quite a bit offline, at least. The Sharks right now, they have maybe, again, this can all shift with Brittany, it can all shift with camp, right? You don't really know. If you look at it right now, the Sharks have, maybe 1.5 good lines, maybe 2 good, like that we could say could be good lines. And that's not kind of the defensive side.
I mean, you're being very generous, friend.
Fine. I am. But that's still my point, is that you do still need a handful of pieces. Now, they should not be signed to long contracts. They should not be signed at, ridiculous prices at all. And they shouldn't steal the focus. And I think that's what drove me nuts about this season again, was the vets were a little bit more the focal point than the youth. But you do still need a couple of other players here. So just do it smartly. That's all. That's all I ask.
And, we are all very, very confident that that's what Mike Grier will do.
Well, you're 3 stars of the week, Ben, since you just rained on that parade. I'm sorry, of the season. You're 3 stars of the season. Yeah.
All right. Boy, that actually is tough. I mean, I know generally, so Eklund is going to get one of them. He was healthy all year. He played, 45 points. He projects to be better than Timo Meier, which is what we need him to be in 2 or 3 years. I don't know if he's my third or second or first. I'm going to give Grier a star just for firing David Quinn, though I'm tempted to take it away for not firing McCarthy. And then, I don't know, I guess Granlund.
I'm going to give, I know exactly who I'm going to give mine to. I'm going to give my first stars. I'm going to tie to Zetterberg and Eklund because I think they both made the same strides.
Zetterlund, not Zetterberg.
Sorry, what did I say? Zetterberg. Zetterlund. Long day, long Shark talk. Zetterlund.
Okay.
Zetterlund and Eklund. I'm going to give my second star to Hurdle, and I know that seems like a weird one. No, here's why.
Yeah.
Two reasons.
Get the fuck out.
No, here's why.
We'll see. When he was here playing for us, he was still putting in the effort.
Yeah, he was a bright spot.
But I also, and I think he really helped the rest of the team as well. But I also, I even though I hate where he ended up, I give him credit for identifying the situation, going, you sold me a false bill of goods, because he did speak up about that and request to be moved. And I have respect for a player who does that, even though I wish that he was still here, even though I would have liked to have seen him, maybe be the captain and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I do have respect for the fact that he did it. And also, to be honest, even though we didn't get the best out of that trade, it does free up a lot off the books as well. And so, it was even the right move for the team in a lot of ways. So I give credit to where credit's due. And then my third star, I'm going to give to some of the goaltenders who were Saints, because those guys got shellacked. And, like you said, I was impressed with Blackwood, just given, do I think he's above league average? No, not really. But, he was really good for what he had to deal with. I thought Kakkonen as well did great for what he had to deal with. Do I think they're stellar? Not really, but, they put up with a lot. Cooley, Drury's out there. I like the story.
Cooley was entertaining.
Strawn and stuff. I'm not ready, but just the fact of the matter is that this was the season where, and I know Kakkonen's gone now, but this was the season where I wasn't really all that worried about goaltending. And I'm not.
Neither was Mike Grier, apparently.
I'm not fully worried about it for the next season or so. So I got to give those guys credit for the. I mean, look, those guys stopped more shots this year than a lot of goalies will in their entire career. So
they also let through more shots than some goalies might.
Look, dude. When you make 30, 40 saves, and you're still getting shot on. And I know. Bad defense.
I know.
But agree, Ben, and that's why I pointed out that I don't necessarily see them above league average.
Yeah,
but I do think they did well with what they had to do.
I do think Blackwood probably is a slightly plus goalie given everything, because positionally he is very sound.
Yeah, he's athletic too.
And he's athletic. It's just hard. You can't really know after a season like this, right? Like, yeah.
Blackwood struck me as a Niemi. With the right defense in front of him, he would be amazing. But he's not going to be the shutdown master.
Was Niemi ever really amazing though?
Do you think
no?
There were beach balls going.
Niemi was adequate with the right team in front of him.
Adequate. We go. Yes,
he was able to get it done and get it done in high pressure situations.
You could win a cup with Mackenzie Blackwood if you had the very best team in front of him.
The best. I went to a sad place. All right. So
your 3 stars, Colin.
Alex almost convinced me that Greer should get one of my stars, but my stars.
Me? I didn't say that.
I'm the one who said Greer gets it.
I thought about it for the Quinn firing. I just felt there were other people more deserving who didn't also fuck up.
Also, I think the 3-star things is dumb. So
I know, but it's a hockey thing. So
Ben, give me a minute. Let me work. So 1st star goes to Eklund because of course it does. 2nd star goes to Blackwood because watching him play has been one of the more entertaining things this season for me. Even
also coming back from injury and all that stuff that he had to deal with in his career.
Yeah, and just watching this goalie just getting destroyed, but still digging through it. Inspirational. And my 3rd star goes to the Buffalo Sabres for reminding us that sometimes in order to go forward, you've got to go back and just bring that coach right on back from the good old days.
I cannot
come home, McClellan. Come home.
No, you shut your
McClellan
your whore mouth, Colin.
And Ruff. We can have Buffalo versus Chicago with McClellan and Ruff coaching.
Alex,
and we can all feel young again.
Motion to eject Colin from this podcast forever.
Yeah, you can also eject him out of Arizona and over to Utah if you want. Oh, poor guys. By the way, I do want to point out for people, the funny thing with that situation is how many people are like, man, it sucks they lost their team. They were part of the sale guarantees a team coming back.
Well,
assuming they can get the land stuff worked out.
And
with that ownership probably isn't going to happen, but they can still get another ownership. And the NHL wants a team in Arizona. They will get a team back. They did not lose their team permanently.
I think it's a coin flip. I think it's a coin flip whether they ever end up with another team. Personally, I agree with you that the NHL is going to try everything they can.
Yeah,
but that's what they have been doing for the last 15 years and failing at. So I have no confidence that they're going to figure something out that is sustainable in Arizona. And I think Arizona's been burned so often that they should just basically
they have such a good hockey community. This is the break I thought they needed from that franchise, but unfortunately the ownership situation is still where it is.
So what you're saying, Alex, is that while I am looking at this as a good thing that I will never have to hear Randy Hahn say fucking Desert Dogs ever again.
They retain the name. They retain the name Coyotes.
No, I know.
You will.
What's worse is what they're going to do is actually name the team the Desert Dogs, and Randy Hahn is going to be part of the ownership group that makes it happen. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh man!
I'd actually be okay with that. I would actually be okay with that for all he's done for the Sharks and bringing the Sharks here. And you know what? I couldn't think of a better guy to bring hockey back to Arizona. So I'm going to say, go do it. And I got to tell you something. Desert Dogs, I hated when they used that term, but I do think it's a better name than Coyotes.
It's such a terrible.
Well, wait till you get your Utah Yetis, Ben.
That what? So he's going to call them the Snow People?
Abominable Snow People.
Here come the snowmen, baby.
Woo!
Actually,
snow jobs.
I mean, with how much cocaine is in the league, that might not be wrong.
Well, hey, listen, Sharks fans, May 7th is when that lottery is. And again, behind the scenes lottery, behind closed doors lottery. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that one of two things happen. Either we get Celebrini, that's the main finger cross. Or if we don't, we still end up with 2 top 10 picks. That would be a nice. That'd be an acceptable.
That would be
constellation.
amazing.
That's an even lower probability than us getting.
I know it is,
you know
Ben.
that, right?
I'm just saying those are the two things. Or the
I
best.
I
The
have
best
simmed
would
the
be to get
lottery.
Smith-Meany and the top 10 as well.
I have simmed the lottery for the last hour, and I have never seen our 14th pick change.
Yeah, I have.
How many times was it Chicago? How many times is it Chicago?
Oh, a lot.
Not as many as the other times I'm
Anaheim and
simming
Seattle and Columbus are getting that number 1 pick quite a bit
Yep.
in my sims, and it makes me
Yep.
sad. Here comes Philadelphia to number 2, though. Good times.
I'm glad that you've been doing that this entire podcast. Well, that concludes a terrible Sharks season and a wonderful podcast. Hopefully you thought so.
Historically terrible.
Yes. No, season, not podcast.
Yeah, we've been worse. That's fair.
Well,
Yeah,
we've certainly potted less, and maybe if it's a good season next year, we'll pot a little more. We'll see what happens. It's all up to Greer right now.
That sounds like a threat to our fan base. If we're better next year, we're gonna podcast more, motherfuckers.
You can check out this podcast on the Apple Podcasts app. You can rate it 5 stars. You can check us out, Android people, somewhere else, maybe Spotify will do it for you. You can check us out on the web at circlingthecup.com. You can check us out on Facebook, where we will answer questions, but we don't really do a whole lot, just being honest there. Facebook.com/circlingthecup. And of course, Ben on the whatever you want to call Elon Musk's
there's
website.
Twitter, and I'm on Blue Sky. So
oh, there you go. At Circling the Cup for both.
I think it's at Ben from CTC on Blue Sky. 1 sec.
Yeah, well, at Circling the Cup, because that's the air quote official one on the.
Yeah,
Twitter,
I'm Ben C. Ben CTC bsky.social over on
that. Really leaning into it, huh? And I think that's it. But if you do have questions in the off season, you can hit us up on our Discord, right? We'll take a look at them. We'll try to answer them as best we can. Guys, I know we didn't talk as much as we have previous seasons, partially because of coordination, thanks to someone being in stupid Sweden, and also and others of us having young kids in sports and other stuff, and also the Sharks not being good and giving us enough to talk about. But it has been a pleasure potting with you as always. I love talking to you guys, and I do have high hopes for the Sharks to be entertaining next season.
Number 3.
Yep. Say bye-bye, guys.
Number 3.
Bye-bye.
Pavelski.
Right? Fucking player coach Joe Pavelski.
If we get number 3 and Joe Pavelski, and then we get another top 10, I'm all right. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.